Finally saw Snow White, the live-action remake. Is this a movie to take your family to? Let's discuss.
This was my father's kingdom. A place of fairness. Like the Queen.
So this is the PG-rated, Mark Webb directed from Amazing Spider-Man fame, and Rachel Zegler starring Snow White remake that has been under fire since the day Rachel Zegler decided to answer a couple of questions in, well, a way that immediately riddled this movie with controversy. I hate to dive into that in this review, but it is such a hot topic. I think it's the most prominent thing to come out of this film, so we have to discuss it.
I just mean that it's no longer 1937, and we absolutely wrote a Snow White that is
not going to be saved by the prince.
She's not going to be saved by the prince.
And I'm an outsider, but I see those clips and I'm thinking to myself, why would you say that? Like, even if you're feeling that way, and, you know, you could look at what she's saying and find merit in certain elements, but you have so many people looking forward to a Snow White remake. I'm not really one of those people, but so many people, and to take away some of the integral elements to the original movie, at least based upon what she's saying, that's not the way to do it. I mean, we've seen remakes do this numerous times. It never really ends well, and whether this film ended up doing that or not,
she's not going to be dreaming about true love. She's dreaming about becoming the leader she knows she can be.
Then, you know, Zegler, she's young. I mean, like, these young actors and actresses, they need some form of PR training, because that initially escalated this film into immense controversy, and people were boycotting it and are still boycotting it because of the casting decisions, both with Gal and with Rachel. But at the end of the day, if you're going to remake Snow White, which has been done several times as of late, this is the first time they're doing a direct Disney remake of the film, then you have to include the elements that people love. Of course, you can find ways to change things for the better and maneuver around certain topics, but you are remaking this to, first of all, make new fans and appeal to very young kids, and we'll talk about that here in just a second. But second of all, with each of these remakes, the reason they're doing this in the first place is to, well, it's to make money, obviously, which most of these movies are made for that specific purpose, but you're doing that because you're capturing what people already know and trying to bring that to life in a very different / live-action way. And so that initial thought of, oh no, they're going to change this, they're going to take away Prince Charming, they're going to do all of these things that are going to piss original fans off, whether you appeal to kids at that point or not, it doesn't really matter, because parents may not even take their kids at that point. And so we just got off on a really bad start initially, and then I know how it's going to go, right? There are going to be people in the comments that are like, oh, Austin, how dare you disagree with what she's saying? And then other people like, man, you're being too nice to Rachel Zegler.
I don't give a fuck.
I haven't been that nice. She's a very talented singer. She is extremely talented. Say what you will about what she says. Again, she's young, and you just got to implement some form of PR training for these young actors and actresses. You just have to, because look at what it's caused. You can say what you want about the uproar, but that's what spawned the uproar. And we'll get into whether that actually happened or not. But I truly believe that she is extremely talented. Like the Hunger Games movie last year, West Side Story. She's very good, and that's where I want to start. She is rock solid in this film, from her singing to the way that she converses with the animals, those dynamics, relationships, and even those relationships with the dwarfs, each individual one, those were rock solid. Now, there is a part of me that feels like for certain aspects of the movie, there was a bit of a miscast there, but she is extremely talented. See? Now I got both sides mad at me. That's what we're going for.
This guy stinks!
If you agree or disagree, by the way, leave the comments. I love them. They're so much fun. But in a film with really poorly CGI dwarfs that feel like they were implemented at the very last second, a group of bandits that was initially teased as a replacement for the dwarfs, I believe so, I don't think I'm making that up. And then while you're watching the movie, you're like, oh, they're bandits now, but I think they were supposed to be the dwarfs, because at one point she leaves the dwarfs behind, and then she's hanging out with some bandits that I didn't know or care about. I mean, I couldn't tell you one of their names. And a performance from Gal Gadot.
This is bad. This is very bad.
In a movie with those things, of course Rachel Zegler is going to be the best part. Now, that's not me saying Zegler is spectacular in this movie. It's just very evident she is extremely talented. Should she have said those things? No. And here's the thing about what she had to say. This movie doesn't really follow suit. You can tell with all of the reshoots, numerous reshoots, that they kind of added back in some of those elements that the uproar was pissed off about initially, and that's where I look at the people involved, maybe Mark Webb, maybe some of the screenwriters, and say, okay, all right, we didn't completely botch it. We didn't entirely screw the pooch like I think a lot of people are going to be expecting, and I'm sure we're going to get people spamming IMDb. That happens with all of these films with immense controversies. I just want to tell you that the 1 star you think you're giving, even if you believe it's a 1 star after watching, is not for the reason that you think you are giving that 1 star for. Did that make sense? Probably not to you, but it made sense in my head. It is not going back on some of those story elements. We do have true love's first kiss. We do have the love interest. Now, it's not entirely fleshed out. This film is, 30-something minutes longer, and it doesn't feel like it gives us nearly as much as the original Snow White, and that's definitely a detriment. I could have used a lot of character development, story progression, whatnot from that side of things, but it's in there. And so you're going to get kind of what you asked for to a degree. You just may not like the performers involved while you're doing it. And so that's why I think this film is going to get a lot of pushback, more so the outside than what's actually happening. But as a movie critic, I've just got to judge the movie here. And as a uniform product, this did deliver on a lot of those elements from the original Snow White. But, and I want to throw in a big but.
What is wrong with you?
I'm losing my voice. You could tell some of those things were thrown in at the last second. You could tell a lot of those elements were implemented via the reshoots. With as many reshoots as they had, trying to get this movie right, trying to take care of the backlash with these CGI dwarfs that were definitely put in at the last second, I can't knock this film entirely for putting it all in, because one, they heard what fans had to say, they heard the feedback, and they wanted to put those guys in. Now, could we have went about it a different way, and I don't know, just not used CGI dwarfs? Yeah, probably, but at least it's better than the bandits. Again, who are they?
Who are you people?
Some of the songs aren't the worst. Some of the songs are fun. And again, the way that they handle the animals. There's a song that Gal is singing, and I do not think this is a good performance. She is, I don't know what movie she's in, because Snow White's going on over here, and she's in her own little world. I don't know, maybe they just threw her in a green screen room and said, hey, go for it. And we're going to close the door, and you just stay right there, and you just give your performance. It's kind of what it feels like at times. She's playing it up big time. But, you know, there's a song in there, and Rachel Zegler's voice is really nice, and you get some moments towards the end. Here's what I'll say about this film. I expected a disaster. Like, just from all the stuff that I was hearing, from the initial controversy, and me sitting back going, Dad probably wouldn't do it that way. That's not the way I would do it. I was expecting a disaster. It is not a disaster. It is competent enough. It is appealing to that young little girl demographic that the first Snow White, I'm sure, at the time hit. I mean, that's the first ever animated movie. I won a trivia challenge recently answering that question. I'm not bragging. I'm just saying. Very easy question. But that was meant to be an animated love story, very small scale, not a gigantic $200-something million blockbuster. And now you have, well, a remake with that exact same story, tweaking a few things, obviously, meant to do that, meant to be a big blockbuster and make all of this money. And by being that, it needs to appeal to more than just little kids. And I don't even know if it's going to appeal to all little kids, because in my theater, you've got some kids who are kind of locked in, I was noticing, and then other kids who are running around and making noises. That was frustrating me as an adult in a theater full of kids. That's weird. If you are going in ready to not like this, I don't know if this movie is going to do anything to change your tune, right? You may be open to the fact that it does keep some of those integral elements that those initial interviews said it wouldn't. and I do believe those are reshoots because they do feel like reshoots, but it's not good enough to make you sit back and go, well, that is Jon Favreau's Jungle Book level quality. It's not. It's just not that. And, recent Disney remakes, I've enjoyed a couple of them, but for the most part, they failed to do what the original does oh so spectacularly. And I do believe Snow White falls into that category because Zegler being the best part of the film with a beautiful singing voice and beautiful moments, she can't do enough to ultimately make this feel like something special. It just feels like a live-action remake that cost $250 million, but even that is being questioned because of the way the dwarfs look. Look, folks, I'm trying to be as impartial as I can, and I'll be honest, the original Snow White, it is an OG, it's a classic for a reason, but I don't have a deep-rooted connection to it. And so if this film would have went off and did its own thing, I would have been like, I don't care as much. Now, I didn't want it to do what Zegler was saying in the interviews. Don't do that. Maintain that heart. But I wouldn't have cared all that much. It does somewhat feel like the original, but it's like a cheap knockoff copy of the original with really poor elements, and kids aren't going to mind that. And I'm an adult. I'm a 30-year-old man. Who am I to say that a child can't enjoy a film? And that's absolutely okay. So if you are a parent with a young daughter, I do believe some of them, can't guarantee all of them, will enjoy themselves. But I even know parents of kids who watched this already, and they've texted me and told me, yeah, my kid was kind of terrified of the dwarfs. And spending that much money on a blockbuster remake does not justify just appealing to young kids. You've got to appeal to more people than that if you're going to spend that amount of money and make a film like this in the first place. And the fact that it can't, because who's taking the kids to the theaters? It's the adults. Trying to be impartial here, because whatever you say, people are going to twist. It's like, oh, you said something good about Rachel Zegler. Well, you're paid off by the mouse. That'd be nice, man. I got to hire an arborist for our tree in the front yard. Yep, the mouse needs to pay me. But then if you say something completely opposite, it's like, oh, you hate women. It's just like, you can't win, but that's okay. So please, comment. What'd you think of the Snow White remake? Are you going to see this? Is it what you expected, not what you expected? Does it work for its intended audience or not? Let me know that in the comments down below. I appreciate it. While not the train wreck many are anticipating, Snow White fails to add anything unique to this story. It somewhat keeps what makes the original work, but a lot of it feels like an awkward copy, and the restructuring of its initial story is evident. The CGI is strange. I'm not sure what Gal Gadot was doing, and the less than 2-hour runtime still feels long. Zegler can sing. Some kids will enjoy it, but this doesn't justify spending this much money on a live-action remake. It just doesn't. We expect better. Hey, how about this? We look at movies that could justify turning into a blockbuster that aren't all-time classics. As much as I love the Disney Atlantis film or Treasure Planet, those aren't classics. They should be. They're not. I believe those are films that justify remaking because those are films that could be epic, awesome blockbusters. Why not go for a movie like that, man? I mean, that takes on, and I get it, you don't have the IP, this and that, but at the same time, less people you're going to offend if you make big-time changes, and you could make something truly spectacular. So I hope they go in that direction one day. I mean, the Stitch movie, honestly, it looks kind of cute, so I'm kind of looking forward to that. Snow White, I was never looking forward to it, but I was waiting on it to surprise me, and it kind of did, because it wasn't the worst. All right, thanks for watching. Bye.